You know how it is always looking for the smarter way to, well, cut through the noise and get to what really matters? And if you're anything like me, you've probably noticed that finding and keeping great talent for, well, any organization feels like it's getting tougher, not easier.
That's a sentiment we're hearing pretty much across the board. The demands on talent management teams are really escalating. We see figures suggesting that a significant majority, maybe around 61%, feel they're operating at or even beyond capacity.
Wow.
And when you look at the strategic level, talent shortages are consistently flagged as a top concern for business leaders. Something like 8 in 10 board directors view it as a major risk to growth.
Which, yeah, paints a pretty stark picture of the challenges businesses are facing.
Mm.
And when you consider the sheer scale, I mean, projections of 85 million unfilled jobs globally by the end of this decade, it's clear this isn't just some minor headache, it's a potential drag on the entire economy, representing like trillions in lost productivity.
Absolutely. And the candidate landscape itself is evolving too. People are much more discerning about where they apply, with data indicating that over 60% of candidates focus only on roles that align with most of their key criteria.
Right.
This increased selectivity just amplifies the competition for the very best people.
So here's the puzzle then. How do organizations effectively find and secure top talent when the pool might actually be shrinking, expectations are definitely rising, and surprisingly, a large percentage of recruiting leaders, around 78%, are dealing with budgets that aren't growing or are even shrinking? That's the core of what we're diving into today.
Exactly. We're going to be exploring a potential pathway through this challenge, the automation of the hiring process. Our source material for this, Pyrate, automates the hiring process. Where to start and what to watch out for offers some really valuable insights into this growing trend.
Okay, so our aim here isn't just a surface level chat about, the latest tech in HR. We want to really dig into this pyrate material and pull out the crucial understanding of how hiring automation can practically help address the real pressures you're facing in attracting top-tier talent, especially when resources are tight.
Right.
But we also need to critically consider what this means for the experience of the people applying for these roles and, importantly, whether it leads to a fair process. We're aiming for some genuinely useful takeaways and maybe a few things that might even surprise you.
Agreed. It's about looking beyond the hype, really, and understanding the tangible benefits and the potential pitfalls of using technology to streamline such a fundamental business process.
Okay, let's really unpack this pressure cooker environment of modern hiring.
Go ahead.
We've touched on the statistics, but it's worth emphasizing again this almost perfect storm of factors. A really competitive market for top-notch skills, the constant demand to fill roles quickly, to keep pace with business needs, and the reality of often limited or even decreasing resources dedicated to recruitment.
Hmm.
Feels like something has to give, doesn't it?
It certainly does. And what the source material highlights is that relying solely on traditional manual hiring methods is just increasingly unsustainable in this environment. I mean, think about the sheer volume of applications that can come in for a single role.
Oh, yeah.
Manually reviewing each one with the necessary care and attention is incredibly time-intensive and, frankly, prone to human inconsistencies. It's a scale issue as much as anything else.
Which perfectly tees up the idea of automation as a potential game changer. The source makes a strong case for its advantages, and one number that really stood out to me was the potential for AI-powered tools to slash the time it takes to hire someone by as much as 89.6%. That's not just a minor tweak. That kind of speed differential could have a massive impact on a company's ability to secure talent before their competitors do.
It's a truly significant figure. And what's particularly interesting, I think, is the notion that this increased speed doesn't necessarily have to come at the expense of the human element. In fact, the source suggests that when implemented thoughtfully, automation can actually contribute to a more personalized and even a more human-centered experience for the candidates. Now, I can see why that might raise an eyebrow or two.
It certainly does. Our gut reaction to automation is often one of, depersonalization. So how exactly does introducing more technology into the process end up making it more human-centered for the applicant?
Consider some of the common frustrations for job seekers. Things like a lack of communication, not knowing where they stand in the process, or the hassle of trying to coordinate interview times.
Right, the black hole.
Exactly. Automation can directly address these pain points. By automating routine communications, providing timely updates, and offering self-service options for things like scheduling, it can actually reduce some of the anxiety and uncertainty that often accompany the job search.
Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty then. The pyrate material lays out 5 key advantages of using hiring automation. The first, as we've already touched on, is this dramatic reduction in time to hire. Can you walk us through the specific ways automation achieves this speed?
Certainly. The source points to several key mechanisms. First, you have AI-powered tools that can rapidly screen resumes and applications, far exceeding the speed and capacity of, well, manual review. They can be configured to identify candidates who possess the specific skills, experience, and qualifications outlined for the role, instantly, almost.
Right.
Second, once a pool of potentially suitable candidates is identified, automated workflows can trigger interview invitations based on preset criteria. And a particularly impactful feature, I think, is the use of self-scheduling tools.
Ah,
Instead of that lengthy back and forth of emails trying to find a mutually convenient time, candidates can simply access the recruiter's or hiring manager's availability and book a slot that works for them. Eliminates all that hassle.
right. That makes perfect sense. Anyone who's ever tried to schedule a meeting with multiple people knows the pain of endless email chains. So, cutting that out of the hiring process is a significant efficiency gain. And yeah, a nearly 90% reduction in hiring time. That could easily be the difference between landing a crucial hire and losing them to a competitor. What's the second major benefit the source highlights?
The second key advantage is the ability to significantly expand the reach of your talent search. Traditional hiring often relies heavily on individuals who are actively looking for jobs and applying through conventional channels like job boards. Automation, particularly through sophisticated AI-powered sourcing tools, can go much further. These tools can proactively search professional networks, delve into past applicant databases, which is often an untapped goldmine, and even identify individuals who aren't actively job seeking, but whose skills and experience might make them an excellent fit for a particular role.
So it's really about tapping into that pool of passive talent people who might not be actively browsing job sites, but could be open to a compelling opportunity if it's presented to them correctly.
Precisely. And the automation doesn't just stop at identifying these potential candidates. The source also mentions the ability to re-engage individuals who applied for previous roles but perhaps weren't quite a match at the time. Their skills or experience might have evolved since then.
Good point.
Furthermore, personalized outreach emails, which can be incredibly time-consuming to craft and send manually at scale, can be automatically generated and sent, tailored to each individual's background, potentially leading to much higher response rates and engagement.
That's a smart way to leverage past efforts and ensure you're not overlooking potentially great fits that are already in your system. Okay, the third benefit seems to directly address our earlier point about the human touch, improving the candidate experience. How does automation contribute positively here?
This is such a critical aspect. The source explicitly tackles that common frustration of candidates feeling like their applications just disappear into a void, being ghosted.
Yeah, everyone hates that.
Right. Automation can ensure a much more consistent flow of communication. Candidates can receive automated acknowledgments upon applying, regular status updates as their application moves through the process, or even if it doesn't, and automated reminders for scheduled interviews.
Okay.
Moreover, AI-powered chatbot can handle many of the frequently asked questions that candidates have about the role, the company culture, or the next steps in the process, providing instant answers 24/7 and reducing uncertainty.
Mm.
And as you mentioned before, self-service portals empower candidates to check the status of their application whenever they want without having to constantly reach out to a recruiter.
So it's about providing a greater sense of transparency and keeping candidates informed throughout the process, which inherently feels more respectful of their time and effort. It sounds like the technology handles the routine communication, freeing up human recruiters to focus on more meaningful interactions with candidates.
Exactly that. It's about strategically deploying technology to handle the transactional aspects, the repetitive stuff of the hiring process. This allows human recruiters to invest their valuable time in building relationships with promising candidates and focusing on the more nuanced aspects of assessment and selection. That human judgment is still key.
Okay. The fourth key benefit outlined is enhancing the accuracy of hiring decisions. How does automation contribute to making better choices about who to bring on board?
Well, in this area, AI-informed assessments and predictive analytics really come into play. These tools can analyze a wide range of data points, think behavioral traits, specific skills demonstrated in tests, and even patterns observed in past successful hires within the organization. This helps match candidates more effectively with the actual requirements of the role, not just what's on the resume. The source also mentions the use of structured video interviews, where AI can even analyze responses for indicators of key competencies, like problem solving or communication style.
Hmm.
The underlying principle here is to bring more data-driven objectivity into the evaluation process, moving beyond purely subjective impressions or gut feelings, which, let's face it, can be biased. This can ultimately lead to better alignment between the candidate's skills and the job requirements, and potentially reduce employee turnover down the line. But, and this is crucial, the source also stresses auditing these tools for bias.
Right, we'll definitely come back to that. So it's about adding a layer of data-backed insight to the evaluation process. Now, the fifth and final key benefit focuses on ensuring compliance and promoting fair hiring practices. How can automation help in this critical area?
Bias in hiring, even unintentional bias, can lead to significant legal and ethical issues, as we know. Automation can help mitigate this risk by enforcing standardized screening criteria that are specific to each role and applied consistently to every single applicant. No exceptions based on, well, anything else.
Consistency is key there.
Absolutely. The source also points out that even the language used in job descriptions can inadvertently deter certain groups of candidates, and AI-powered tools are now available that can flag such potentially biased language before the job is even posted.
So active.
Yes. Furthermore, automated systems create comprehensive audit trails that document every step of the hiring process: who was screened, why, what the scores were. This makes it much easier for organizations to demonstrate compliance with relevant regulations like EEOC, GDPR, CCPA, and promote more genuinely inclusive hiring practices.
That's a really important point, the ability to build in more fairness and accountability into the process through automation. Okay, so we've explored the potential upsides. Now, for someone listening who's thinking, okay, this all sounds promising, but how do we actually start implementing this? The Pyrate material provides a practical six-step plan. Let's walk through those steps, starting with identifying hiring bottlenecks. That seems like a logical first move.
It is absolutely foundational. The source emphasizes, and I agree, that you can't effectively apply automation to a process you don't fully understand. The first crucial step is to thoroughly map out your current hiring workflow, from the moment a requisition is opened right through to the point a new hire is onboarded.
A whole journey.
The whole thing. Then, conduct internal audits of your hiring data. Look for recurring patterns. Are candidates dropping off at a specific stage? Are response times lagging somewhere? The goal is to pinpoint exactly where the inefficiencies and slowdowns are occurring, as these are the areas where automation can likely offer the most significant improvements.
Makes sense.
And, as the source highlights, don't forget to talk directly to your recruiters and hiring managers. They have invaluable firsthand experience of the daily challenges and pain points in the current process.
Right, get the insights from the people actually doing the work every day. Okay, step 2 is to automate resume screening and candidate sourcing. How does an organization go about implementing this effectively?
So this involves first clearly defining the essential criteria, the non-negotiable skills, certifications, years of experience that are absolutely necessary for success in each role. You then configure your AI-powered screening tools with these specific criteria.
Got it.
Simultaneously, you would leverage those AI-driven sourcing tools we discussed earlier to expand your search beyond just active applicants. Tap into professional networks, your past applicant pool, maybe other online platforms where relevant talent might be found. Importantly, the source stresses the need to integrate these automated tools seamlessly with your existing applicant tracking system, your ATS.
Integration.
Yes, so that the qualified candidates identified by the AI are automatically fed into your recruitment pipeline. This allows your human recruiters to focus their attention on engaging with the most promising individuals, not sifting through hundreds of irrelevant resumes.
That integration piece sounds absolutely crucial for maximizing efficiency and, avoiding data silos or manual entry. Okay, step 3 focuses on enabling self-scheduling for interviews. We've already mentioned the benefits, but what are the practical steps involved in setting this up?
The first step is pretty straightforward. Integrate the calendars of your recruiters and relevant hiring managers with a compatible automated scheduling tool. Then you need to define the parameters for scheduling things like the available time slots for interviews, the duration of each slot, maybe any buffer times required between meetings.
Right, the logistics.
Exactly. For roles that typically have a high volume of applicants, the source even suggests considering the implementation of group interview slots to streamline the process further. And finally, it's essential to set up automated confirmation and reminder notifications, typically via email and maybe SMS, to reduce no-shows and ensure candidates have all the necessary information for their interviews.
Sounds like a relatively straightforward way to take a significant administrative burden off the HR team. Okay, the fourth step is automating candidate communication. What does this look like in day-to-day practice?
This generally involves setting up pre-written, but hopefully somewhat personalized, automated email sequences that are triggered at various stages of the candidate journey. This could include an immediate acknowledgement upon receiving an application, providing updates on the status of their application as it progresses, or if it's rejected, and sending confirmations and reminders for scheduled interviews. The source also highlights the value of deploying AI-powered chatbots to handle frequently asked questions from candidates regarding things like salary ranges, company culture details, or the interview process itself.
Instant answers.
Exactly. And for more urgent or time-sensitive updates, like last-minute scheduling changes or maybe the notification of an offer, leveraging SMS and mobile notifications can be a highly effective way to ensure prompt communication. The key, really, is to automate the routine and informational communications while still ensuring that the tone remains professional and, where appropriate, personalized.
It's a balancing act, isn't it? Automating for efficiency without losing that human connection and making candidates feel like they're just, a number in the system. The fifth step in the plan is to standardize hiring assessments and decision making. How can automation contribute to this?
This involves, first, carefully selecting assessment tools that are actually relevant to the specific requirements of each job role.
Right.
Don't just use a generic test for everyone.
Right.
This might include things like skills-based tests for technical roles, maybe behavioral assessments to gauge how a candidate might react in certain situations, or cognitive ability tests where applicable. Once these tools are selected, you build structured interview scorecards. This provides a consistent framework for all hiring managers to evaluate candidates against the same key criteria.
Consistency again.
Yes. And where possible, the scoring of these assessments can also be automated, providing hiring teams with data-driven insights that can inform their final decisions and, importantly, reduce the potential for subjective biases to creep in and influence the outcome.
So it's about creating a more level playing field for all candidates and ensuring that decisions are based more on objective data rather than just gut feeling. The sixth and final step in the Pirate plan is crucial. Monitor, measure, and continuously optimize. This sounds like the step for ensuring the automation is actually delivering the intended results and not, going off the rails.
Absolutely. Implementing automation isn't a set-it-and-forget-it project. It requires ongoing attention and refinement. This involves actively tracking key performance indicators, or KPIs, things like time to hire, candidate satisfaction scores, very important, and the quality of the hires made through these automated processes. Are they staying? Are they performing well?
Good metrics.
It's also vital to actively solicit feedback from both your recruiters and your hiring managers. What's working well? What are the friction points? What needs improvement? Based on this data and feedback, you then iterate and adjust your automation workflows to ensure they remain aligned with your evolving business needs and hiring objectives.
So it's a continuous cycle. Like implement, monitor, get feedback, improve.
Got it. Now, we've covered the benefits and the practical steps to get started, but the source also dedicates a significant portion to the potential challenges and things to be mindful of when implementing hiring automation. What are some of the key watch-outs that the Pirate material highlights?
Well, one crucial area of focus, which we touched on, is ensuring that you audit AI screening tools to detect and mitigate bias. AI learns from the data it's trained on, right?
Right.
And if past hiring data reflects existing societal or organizational biases, the AI can unfortunately learn and even amplify those biases. So the source emphasizes the absolute need for regular auditing of these tools, using diverse training data sets, and potentially opting for more explainable AI models where you can understand why the AI made a particular recommendation.
Okay, that's critical for fairness. What's another watch out? Another key point is maintaining that balance between automation and the human touch. While automation offers huge efficiencies, the source strongly cautions against creating a completely impersonal experience for candidates. This could backfire, leading to higher rates of application abandonment and ultimately damaging your employer brand.
Makes sense.
It emphasizes the importance of personalizing automated communications where possible, simple things like using the candidate's name, referencing the specific role they've applied for, and ensuring that human recruiters are readily available to step in for more in-depth interactions, particularly at key stages like later round interviews and definitely when extending job offers. The underlying principle really is that AI should augment human capabilities, not entirely replace human interaction and hiring.
That makes a lot of sense. You don't want to create a hiring process that feels cold and transactional, especially when you're trying to attract top talent. What's another key consideration highlighted in the source?
Maintaining compliance and data privacy is huge. You absolutely need to ensure your automated processes comply with all relevant regulations like GDPR in Europe, EEOC guidelines in the US, CCPA in California, and so on.
Yeah, the legal side.
Exactly. The source mentions using AI tools that have built-in compliance features, rigorously securing candidate data, limiting access only to those who need it, and being transparent with candidates about how their data and AI are being used, perhaps even offering options for human review if they have concerns.
Transparency is key there too. Okay, what else should organizations be wary of?
Another important factor is ensuring that the AI integration works seamlessly with your existing HR technology infrastructure. We mentioned integration earlier, but the source points out that poorly integrated systems can actually create more complexity and slow down workflows rather than improve them.
Right, create more problems than it solves.
Precisely. Data might not flow correctly between different platforms, forcing recruiters to spend time manually transferring information or working across multiple disconnected systems. So it's crucial to select automation tools that are specifically designed to integrate smoothly with your current applicant tracking system and other relevant HR technologies. Thorough testing of new integrations before a full-scale rollout and a commitment to continuously refining these integrations based on user feedback are also essential for maximizing efficiency.
Integration definitely sounds like a potential make or break element for successful implementation. What's another potential pitfall to be aware of?
The source also underscores the importance of overcoming potential employee resistance to the adoption of AI in hiring. Let's be honest, recruiters who have been performing their roles in a certain way for years might feel apprehensive or even threatened by the introduction of automation.
Yeah, fear of being replaced.
Exactly. The key to addressing this is clear and consistent communication. Emphasize that the goal of automation is to reduce their administrative burden, the tedious stuff, and free them up to focus on more strategic and engaging aspects of their roles, like building relationships with top talent and being strategic advisors to hiring managers. Demonstrating the tangible benefits like the actual time saved on manual tasks and providing comprehensive training on how to effectively use the new AI tools are crucial for gaining buy-in. A phased rollout of new technologies rather than a big bang approach can also help teams adapt more gradually and feel more comfortable with the changes.
So it's really about positioning automation as a tool to empower recruiters, not replace them. What's a final key takeaway regarding potential challenges?
Finally, the source emphasizes the value of actively gathering feedback from both candidates and new employees regarding their experience with the automated hiring process. Don't just assume it's better because it's automated.
Right, check your assumptions.
Exactly. This feedback can provide invaluable insights into what's working well and what aspects of the automation might need to be adjusted or refined. For example, post-interview surveys can gauge candidate satisfaction with the communication frequency, the clarity of instructions, the ease of scheduling. And feedback from new hires can shed light on the effectiveness of the onboarding process, which might also be partially automated. This continuous feedback loop is essential for ensuring that your automation efforts are truly enhancing the overall hiring experience for everyone involved, not just making things faster on paper.
So it's about keeping that human-centered perspective throughout the entire process, even as you introduce more technology.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here. Let's try to synthesize this with some of the core takeaways from our deep dive into the Pyrate material on hiring automation. Absolutely. I think the first key takeaway has to be strategy first. Before adopting any automation tools, organizations need to thoroughly analyze their current hiring process, pinpoint the real bottlenecks, and have a clear understanding of where automation can provide the most significant tangible value. Don't just automate for automation's sake.
Good point. Secondly, the source really emphasizes that the goal of AI in hiring should be to streamline and augment human efforts, not to entirely replace them. While automation excels at handling repetitive administrative tasks, that human oversight, judgment, and interaction remain critical for key decision-making and for building meaningful relationships with candidates.
Thirdly, it's absolutely crucial to prioritize the candidate experience, even as you automate. Organizations need to carefully balance the efficiencies gained through automation with the need for personalized communication, transparency, and ensuring that human recruiters are available for important touch points to keep candidates engaged and feeling valued, not just processed.
And finally, and this loops back to an earlier point, remember that implementing hiring automation is not a one-time event. It requires ongoing monitoring of key metrics, actively seeking feedback from both internal teams and candidates, regular audits for bias, and a real willingness to continuously refine and optimize your automated workflows to ensure they continue to meet your evolving needs and deliver tangible, positive results.
Exactly. It's about viewing automation not as a destination, but as an iterative process of continuous improvement.
Well, this deep dive into hiring automation, drawing from the practical insights of Pyrate Automates the Hiring Process, really provides a comprehensive overview, I think, of how organizations can leverage technology to navigate the complexities of modern talent acquisition.
Indeed. And when it's implemented strategically, thoughtfully, with a focus on both efficiency and the human experience, hiring automation offers a genuinely powerful set of tools for attracting and securing top talent in today's incredibly competitive landscape.
And that brings me to a final thought for you, our listener, to ponder. We've focused specifically on its application in hiring today, but what broader implications might these trends in automation have for other complex processes within various industries? How might organizations across different sectors leverage technology to streamline their operations while still maintaining a truly human-centric approach? What other areas might we see similar transformations? And maybe more importantly, what are the fundamental principles for ensuring successful and ethical implementation beyond just the realm of talent acquisition? It's certainly a lot to consider as technology continues to evolve at, well, lightning speed. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.